All right, so today we're diving deep into something super important, mental well-being. We've got a ton of insightful material, and we're going to pull out all the best stuff, the tips, techniques, real-life stories. Will basically build you a toolkit for a happier, healthier mind.
And what I really like about this collection is the holistic approach. It's not about just fixing problems.
Wow.
It's about understanding how interconnected everything is.
Oh, yeah.
Our minds and bodies, emotions, creativity.
I love that.
It's about nurturing well-being from all these different angles.
Yeah, it's like we're not just zeroing in on one part of ourselves, but like the whole picture.
Exactly.
Speaking of a holistic approach,
Hmm.
we're kicking off this deep dive with mindfulness and meditation. Ever feel like your mind's a runaway train? Like a million thoughts racing?
Oh, all the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's so common. And mindfulness is kind of like hitting the brakes on that train.
Okay.
Becoming aware of your thoughts and feelings without judging them, just observing. And meditation helps you train that awareness muscle so you can bring more clarity and calm into your life.
So it's not about completely emptying your mind.
No.
It's more about like learning to be present in the middle of all that mental chatter.
Exactly. Yeah. And you don't need to be like, a monk to do this.
Right.
There are some simple techniques anyone can try, like breath awareness.
Okay.
Just focusing on each inhale and exhale, noticing the rise and fall of your breath. It's a powerful way to anchor yourself in the present moment.
That sounds so simple, but I can already feel how like centering that could be.
Right. Or there's the body scan meditation where you lie down and mentally scan your body, head to toe, noticing any sensations, tension, relaxation.
Oh, I've tried that one.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how much tension I was holding in my shoulders.
Yeah.
Crazy what you discover when you actually like tune in.
It is. And the research is amazing. Even 5 minutes a day of mindfulness or meditation
Just 5 minutes.
can significantly reduce stress, anxiety, even symptoms of depression.
Wow.
5 minutes, that's doable.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection, it's about progress.
Right.
Some days you might only have a minute, others you might meditate longer. The key is to make it a consistent practice, just like brushing your teeth.
This makes me think of something else we do every day. Eating. And that's where mindful eating comes in.
Oh, mindful eating, yes. It's not about dieting or restriction.
Okay.
It's about savoring each bite, noticing the textures, the flavors, even the aromas. Imagine putting your fork down between bites, really being present with your food.
That's a great point. I'm definitely guilty of like eating lunch at my desk, working, and I barely taste it.
Right.
It's just another thing to cross off the list.
But when you practice mindful eating, you turn a regular meal into a mindfulness practice. It can affect your digestion, your relationship with food, and your well-being overall.
Okay, I'm convinced. I'm trying that today. Now, sometimes we need more than just mindfulness, especially if we're dealing with more serious mental health challenges. That's where therapies like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, come in.
I think of these therapies like different tools in your mental well-being toolkit.
Okay.
Each has a unique approach, and they can be incredibly effective. Let's start with CBT. It's fascinating because it helps you identify and challenge those negative thought patterns that can really get stuck.
So you're like rewiring your brain.
Yeah, you could say that. Imagine keeping a thought journal, writing down those negative thoughts that pop up, like, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail, and then examining them. Are they really true? What evidence do you have?
It's like you're becoming a detective for your own mind.
Exactly. And once you challenge those negative thoughts, you can replace them with more balanced, realistic ones. It's about shifting your perspective and changing how you talk to yourself.
That sounds so empowering. And what about DBT? How's that different?
DBT focuses more on managing intense emotions and building healthier relationships. It teaches you skills to navigate tough situations, things like mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, interpersonal effectiveness.
So learning to ride the waves of your emotions.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the material here has a really inspiring story about a man named James who struggled with intense anger and impulsivity. Through DBT, he learned to identify his triggers, manage his emotions, build healthier relationships.
That's amazing. It shows that these therapies can really make a difference. But what if someone isn't into the whole talking thing? What about art therapy?
Art therapy is incredible because it lets you express yourself non-verbally. It's not about being a skilled artist.
Okay.
It's about using art as a language to communicate emotions that you might not have words for.
It's like giving your feelings a voice.
Precisely. We have a powerful example here. There's a woman named Leela who went through something traumatic and she was struggling to process it. Through art therapy, through painting and sculpting, she could express her pain, her fear, her anger.
It's like the art became a bridge between her inner world and the outside world.
Exactly. And through the creative process, she found a way to heal and find peace.
These stories are so inspiring, like a reminder that there's hope and ways to get better. You don't have to suffer silently. Which brings us to another big thing: community and connection. You know that feeling when you're going through something tough and you want to talk to someone who gets it, someone who's been there?
Oh, absolutely. That sense of belonging, reducing loneliness, having a support system, whether it's family, friends, support groups, even online communities, those connections are invaluable.
And it's not just about getting support, it's giving it too.
Absolutely.
Knowing you're not alone.
And something that can really help is talking openly about mental health in general, breaking down that stigma.
Yes. Imagine if it was as normal to talk about anxiety or depression as it is to talk about a cold.
Right. And when public figures share their stories, it's so powerful.
Totally.
It normalizes these experiences and encourages others to get help without feeling shame.
It's like, hey, it's okay not to be okay. We're all in this together.
Exactly.
And speaking of being in this together, let's shift gears and talk about how physical health plays a big part in our mental well-being.
This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
That mind-body connection is powerful. What we do with our bodies directly affects our minds and vice versa.
They're like two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful ways to boost your mood and reduce stress is exercise.
Okay, but I'm not talking about running a marathon or anything.
Yeah.
Even just a brisk walk in nature or dancing to your favorite music releases endorphins.
Right, those feel-good chemicals.
Yeah.
It can do wonders for your mental state.
It's about finding something you enjoy and making it a regular thing. And don't underestimate the power of sleep.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah.
When I don't sleep enough, I'm definitely not my best self.
Grumpy, foggy.
It works.
Yeah, sleep deprivation takes a toll on your mental health. It can make it harder to manage stress, regulate your emotions, focus.
So making sleep a priority is crucial.
Absolutely. And what you eat matters too. Processed foods, sugary drinks. They might give you a temporary boost, but they can worsen anxiety and depression.
So nourishing your brain with healthy foods just like you do your body.
Exactly. A balanced diet. Lots of fruits, veggies, whole grains, lean protein can make a huge difference in how you feel.
It's like giving your brain that premium fuel, to run its best.
Exactly. A simple change anyone can make. Stay hydrated.
Oh, drinking enough water.
Yeah. It can do wonders for your energy levels and focus, which indirectly supports your mental well-being.
It's all those small, consistent steps, building those healthy habits.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination. And speaking of journeys, we've talked about nourishing our minds and bodies, but what about feeding our souls? That's where creative outlets come in.
Oh yeah, let's unleash that inner artist, whether it's writing, music, art, dancing, gardening,
Yeah.
all that stuff. It can be incredibly therapeutic.
There's something so powerful about expressing yourself through art. It's a way to process emotions, reduce stress, tap into a deeper part of you.
And again, it's not about being perfect or creating some masterpiece. It's the process of creation itself.
Exactly. And there's an outlet out there for everyone. Doesn't matter what your interests or skills are.
So you don't have to be the next Picasso or Mozart to benefit from it.
Absolutely not. It's about finding what brings you joy and allows you to express yourself authentically.
This all sounds amazing, but what if someone's listening and they're overwhelmed? Like they don't even know where to start.
I would tell them, start small. Pick one thing that resonates with you and commit to doing it for 5-10 minutes a day. Maybe it's a breathing exercise, a walk in nature, writing in a journal.
It's those small steps that lead to big changes.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are so many resources out there.
Speaking of resources, we've covered a lot. Mindfulness, therapy, community, physical health, creative outlets.
It is a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
And it's important to remember that there are people out there who can help you navigate all of this.
So let's dive into that next. We'll explore some specific resources that can give you guidance and support on your mental well-being journey.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We were just talking about resources and support systems, and this material really emphasizes that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yeah, it's like saying, hey, it's okay to need a little extra support sometimes.
Yeah.
We all do. Life throws curveballs.
Exactly. And there's no shame in reaching out when you need it. In fact, it's a sign of self-awareness and commitment to your well-being.
So what kind of resources are we talking about?
Well, there are helplines you can call or even text if you need that immediate support.
Right.
Websites like Mental Health America have tons of information, tools,
Right.
and then there are support groups where you can actually connect with people who get it.
That sounds so valuable. Just having that shared experience, it can be really comforting and validating.
Absolutely. And don't forget about therapy.
Oh, yeah.
We touched on it, but it's worth saying again, therapy can be a game changer for people.
It's like having a dedicated space to unpack everything with a trained professional who can guide you towards healing and growth.
Exactly. And there are so many different types of therapy out there. You can find one that fits your needs.
This all ties back to that community and connection idea, right? It's
Yes.
about creating that safety net.
Yeah, and building a support system takes time and effort. It's about nurturing those relationships and being there for each other.
Creating a culture of care and understanding for ourselves and the people around us.
Speaking of understanding, let's go back to art therapy.
Okay.
The material goes deeper into the benefits of using art as a therapeutic tool, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, I was really interested in that too. It's not just about making pretty pictures, it's about using art to process those tough emotions and experiences, especially the ones that are hard to put into words.
Right. And the source material highlights how art therapy isn't about like artistic talent or skill. It's about that process of creating and expressing yourself. It can be so freeing, especially for people who have trouble talking about their feelings.
It's like giving your emotions a different language, a way to communicate without needing the right words.
And you know, this connects back to what we were saying about community. Even if you're not in formal art therapy, doing creative things with others can build those connections and that sense of belonging.
That makes me think of community art projects,
Yes.
like murals or group painting sessions.
Exactly.
It's not just about the art, it's about that shared experience, the connections you build.
It creates a space for people to come together, express themselves, and feel supported. And it doesn't have to be visual arts. Think community choirs, writing groups, or even jamming with friends.
It's all about finding those things that let you tap into your creativity and connect with others in a meaningful way.
And speaking of connections, the material talks a lot about open conversations about mental health. It's about breaking that stigma down.
Right, like we were saying, it should be as normal to talk about these things as it is to talk about a cold.
Right. And one way to normalize these conversations is by sharing our own experiences when it feels appropriate and listening to others with empathy and understanding.
Creating a safe space where people feel heard, supported, no judgment, no shame.
And the material points out how powerful it is when, like, public figures share their stories.
Oh, totally.
It really helps to destigmatize these things. It shows that this can affect anyone, no matter who they are.
It's a reminder that we're all human,
Yeah.
We all face these challenges, and it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely. And this is why it's so important to know what resources are out there. Helplines, therapy, support groups, even just a trusted friend or family member.
Right, the material reminds us that there are resources for everyone, no matter what they're going through.
It's about empowering ourselves with knowledge and tools so we can navigate the tough times and support each other.
Okay, ready to switch gears a bit. Let's talk about that mind-body connection.
All right, here's where it gets really interesting. The material dives into how our physical health directly affects our mental well-being. It's not just about looking good, it's about feeling good from the inside out.
Right, and it all starts with those basics. Exercise, diet, sleep.
Think of exercise as a natural mood booster. It releases endorphins,
Yeah, those feel-good chemicals.
helps reduce stress, improves sleep.
And it doesn't have to be like crazy workouts. Even a walk in nature, some yoga.
Exactly. Finding things you enjoy and building them into your routine.
What about diet? We talked about mindful eating, but this material really stresses nourishing your body with the right foods.
Yeah, it's like giving your brain the best fuel to function well. A balanced diet with those fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean protein can make a huge difference.
And on the flip side, processed foods, sugary drinks, too much caffeine, those can actually make anxiety and depression worse.
It's about making conscious choices and understanding how what you eat affects how you feel mentally and emotionally.
And let's not forget sleep. I know I'm not my best when I'm sleep deprived.
Sleep is essential for our bodies and minds to rest, repair, recharge.
Yeah.
When we don't get enough, we can be irritable, moody, have trouble concentrating. It can even increase the risk for serious mental health issues.
It's like trying to run a car on empty. Eventually you break down.
Exactly. Having a regular sleep schedule, a relaxing bedtime routine, making sure your bedroom is dark and quiet, these all make a
This is
difference.
about making sleep a priority, part of your self-care.
And this all connects to that holistic approach again, right?
It does.
It's understanding that everything is connected, taking care of yourself on all levels, mentally, emotionally, physically.
So if we were to sum all this up, what's the main takeaway for our listeners?
I think the biggest thing is that mental well-being is within our reach.
Okay.
It's not about being perfect, having it all figured out. It's about those small steps each day that build up to a healthier, happier you.
It's about weaving in the practices we've talked about: mindfulness, therapy, community, taking care of our physical health, being creative, doing it in a way that feels real and sustainable for each person.
Exactly, making mental well-being a priority, remembering it's a journey, not a destination.
And knowing that we're not alone in this.
Right.
There are resources, people who get it, a whole community ready to support us.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What's
Yeah.
one small step you can take today to move toward a healthier, happier you?
Maybe try one of those mindfulness techniques. Reach out to a friend, or even just take a few moments to breathe deeply and appreciate this moment.
Remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect on your well-being.
It's amazing how these small changes can really add up when it comes to mental well-being. We've covered so much in this deep dive, from mindfulness to therapy to the importance of community. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier, something I find really fascinating, that idea of creative outlets as therapy.
It is fascinating how we find ways to heal and express ourselves. This material really highlights how creative activities, they're not just hobbies, they're powerful tools for processing emotions, for finding a sense of peace.
Yeah, it's like giving your feelings a voice, even when you can't quite find the words.
Hmm.
And we're talking writing, music, art, dancing, gardening.
Imagine you're feeling totally overwhelmed by stress. Instead of letting it bottle up, you grab a journal and just let those thoughts and emotions pour out onto the page. Or maybe you put on some music and get lost in it.
I love that. It's like giving yourself permission to just feel whatever comes up, without judgment. And it doesn't have to be good or artistic. It's about letting go and letting your creativity lead the way.
Exactly. And there's a creative outlet for everyone out there. Doesn't matter what your interests are or your skill level. You don't have to be the next Picasso or Mozart to benefit.
So no pressure to create a masterpiece.
None at all. It's about the process, expressing yourself authentically. This material actually emphasizes that playful, curious approach to creativity. It's about exploring, experimenting, having fun, letting your inner child come out.
That's such a good reminder. We can be so hard on ourselves, especially with creative things. We get so caught up in being good at something that we forget to just enjoy it.
And, I think the most powerful insights, the most healing happens in those moments when we let go of that pressure and just allow ourselves to be present, to let that creative energy flow.
So for someone who is feeling lost, overwhelmed, and wants to tap into that creative power, where would you suggest they start?
Start small. Pick one thing that speaks to you and do it for even 10 or 15 minutes a day. Journaling, sketching, playing an instrument, even just doodling while you're on the phone. It's about making it a regular practice.
Consistency is key. And remember, it's not about the finished product. It's about giving yourself that space to express yourself freely. It's about nurturing your soul.
And you might be surprised by what comes up. Sometimes when we give ourselves that space to create, we find hidden talents, we work through difficult emotions, or we simply find a sense of peace and joy that we didn't even know we were missing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into mental well-being, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away?
Mental well-being is a journey, and it's a journey that's worth taking. It's about incorporating these practices we've talked about: mindfulness, therapy, connecting with others, taking care of our physical health, embracing creativity, and doing it in a way that feels authentic for you.
It's about taking care of ourselves on all levels: mind, body, and spirit. And remembering we're not alone on this path. There are resources. There are people who understand. There's a whole community ready to support us.
And even the smallest steps can make a difference.
So here's one final thought for you to consider. What creative spark will you ignite today? Pick up a paintbrush, dust off that old guitar, write in a journal, or get out in the garden. Your mental well-being will thank you for it.